And speaking of federal judges holding the line, a different federal judge in New York ordered that Donald Trump has to pay E. Jean Carroll the $5 million plus interest that he owes her from a 2023 verdict that found him liable for sexually abusing and defaming her. The order came hours after Donald Trump's lawyers made a desperate last-ditch effort to avoid making the payment to E. Jean Carroll, arguing that the money can't be released to E. Jean Carroll until the Supreme Court rejects Trump's long-shot bid to have them reconsider his petition to appeal the verdict. The Supreme Court justices already weighed in, denying Donald Trump's initial petition to appeal last week. In response, Donald Trump continued his defamatory attacks against E. Jean Carroll, the spokesperson for his legal team, calling the cases brought by her, quote, Democrat-funded hoaxes, end quote. Donald Trump's lawyers have also already filed an appeal of today's order. I want to bring in legal analyst and former U.S. Attorney Joyce Vance. She's a professor at the University of Alabama School of Law and is a close personal friend with E. Jean Carroll. Andrew is still here as well. Joyce Vance, it's wonderful to see you. Tell me what you think legally first, and then as someone who knows what this journey has been like for E. Jean Carroll, second.
Well, legally, I think this is actually the end of the road, Nicole. You know, Donald Trump has already tried to file an appeal, but I've actually got the judge's order printed out. I wanted to read from it because there's nothing left for Donald Trump to do. The money is sitting in the court's registry system. And so in the order, the judge writes that the clerk of the court, is directed to disperse the money, both the principal of $5 million and then the post-judgment interest. And I think the most interesting part of this is at the very bottom, Judge Kaplan says, the clerk is further respectfully directed to terminate docket number 232. That means that the case is over. And at best, Donald Trump could hope to get the Court of Appeals to stay this order, but he's filed a notice of appeal and there's not a request for a stay yet. The clerk of the court could well distribute this money before the end of the day. And to the part of your question about E. Jean's reaction, look, I think she's been a tremendous hero for people across the country who wanted to figure out a way to stand up to a bully, but didn't seem able to. My favorite part of all of this is she has no interest in keeping the money for herself. She intends to donate it to a charity that, in her words, Donald Trump won't like very much.
Andrew, the E. Jean Carroll case and the way she's handled it with such grace is an example, as is the Kennedy Center case, I think, of, I think something Carrie Bradshaw in Sex and the City coined, like, it's so over, we need a new word for over. Like, legally, these cases are so over, we need new ways to explain to our audience how over they are. Like, he went to the Supreme Court. That is the end of the road in our system, in our country, and it is over. He owes the money. With the name on the building, it is over. Pull the tarp down, suffer your humiliation, and move on. How do we... on the other side of this, I don't like to talk about the other side too often, but on the other side, how do we protect the system from these abuses where when it's over, it's over for everybody?
So one thing that's notable about those two cases is they both took courageous, tenacious women to really have enormous backbone to go up against the president of the United States. I think one of the things that you mentioned when you talked about this, you said that this was a verdict in 2023. And I think that in many ways is a way to answer your question, which is the justice system has to be faster. The civil justice system and the criminal justice system. It's a truism that Joyce knows, which is justice delayed is justice denied. But it just should not be that you can run out the clock. Now, the Kennedy Center case was unusual in how fast it went because there was an injunction sought and not damages, and the court ruled on that very quickly. But there needs to be a tightening up so that you don't have E. Jean Carroll have filed her first case in, I believe, 2019. That's 7 years ago. Then her second case in 2022. And so we're seeing, I think the nation is seeing just how long these things take. Now, of course, in the criminal side, due process requires length, but it doesn't require this amount. And other nations look at our system and they don't, this, usually people emulate us. This is not one of those areas.
Joyce, I'll give you the last word on just the extraordinary strain that is put on judges. Just about every story we cover, Trump, including through his Justice Department, abuses the system, does something either flagrantly illegal or unconstitutional, and it falls to judges to be the guardrail. That obviously strains that system. It's not designed to exist in a democracy absent Congress, absent politics, absent other measures for accountability.
If there are institutional heroes in this era, it's federal district judges across the country who are doing their jobs. And so many of these judges, Nicole, are judges who were appointed by Donald Trump, which I think is very telling. In this moment where what we need in this country is more bravery and more courage, judges are doing it by acting unremarkably, by simply looking at the facts and the law and making decisions on cases. And that's something that we need more of.